excited to see you. We have got a really great panel for our year-end roundtable today. I'm going to take just a couple of seconds to make sure that everybody who's watching live is able to get in the Zoom, make sure that we're live on YouTube. Wendy Herndon is here, our phenomenal moderator, our community manager. Wendy, please say hi in the chat to anybody who's with us on Zoom or on YouTube. She and I are going to be your stewards, your liaisons to help access the information inside the big brains of our four guests today. So quick introduction from me. I'm Steve Smith. I'm the communications manager at Curaytor. You might have seen my face or heard my silly voice a few times before on streams like this. I am excited to be here with some of our top clients, our top ambassadors for innovative, thoughtful practitioners of real estate from all. I'm already seeing great comments. Thank you, Richard. It's good to see you in the chat. Uh, we'll get to everyone's personal effects and jewelry. That might be in the Q&A towards the end. Uh, we've got four really phenomenal panelists today, representing different markets, representing different brokerages, from all around, So everybody, please join me in welcoming. We've got from All in Miami, from, you guessed it, Miami, representing Compass, Mr. Amit Bhuta. We've got from the Tampa Bay area, with My Tampa Agent and Real Brokerage, we've got Anthony Malafronte. And let's just to balance things out, because we've got two in Florida, holding Florida down, locked tight. We're gonna jump to a much different region of the world to say hi to Mr. Dean Linnell. Dean Linnell, with the Whistler Real Estate Company, but also the Dean Linnell Personal Real Estate Corporation in Whistler, BC, and Damian Hall, the leader of the Damian Hall Group, part of Christie's International in Greenville, South Carolina, but representing, you've got teams all around the Carolinas. Is that right, Damian?
Yep, we're covering Charleston, Hilton Head, Western North Carolina, and then upstate Greenville. All the places everybody's moving to now.
Well, it is great to have all four of you here. Do me a favor, if you're in the chat, go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear where we've got folks represented across our audience as well. But in the meantime, while we do that, I want to get a sense from each of you folks. 2025 was a weird year, right? Even right before we started this chat, I said, "Does anybody have any thoughts or any questions before we go live?" Will you say what you said?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year this year. I would say, just to be real, as agents, we hear all the great stories and everyone is killing it, and then we think we suck. And just being as honest as I can, we're doing worse than we did last year. We're having a great December, but at the end of the day, in real estate, one of the things, 21 years into it, every 2 weeks, I think I suck. I think I'm terrible. I think I'm the worst. And sometimes I think I'm good. But in Miami, you get paid double the commission on new construction. So we just put a Jade on the team, not me. I'm just there. I'm in the background watching. She put a property on under contract for just under 4 million. It pays 6% commission. It's on the 84th floor of what's probably going to be the tallest building on the East Coast, the Waldorf Astoria, probably 100 floors. So it was pretty cool.
That's really cool. Now, the thing you said right before the chat started was simply, "What's the Fed gonna do today?"
Oh, so I answered the wrong question. Yeah,
No, 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 that's all right.
I day trade a lot. So if you see me every once in a while look to the side, I'm looking at how SOXL is doing. So yeah,
Yeah,
what is the Fed gonna do? And yeah, it's not even nowadays when we hear about the Fed, if the rate reduction, it's what they say about future rate reductions, if they're hawkish, dovish, or whatever. So we'll see in
hmm
about an hour.
yeah. So on that note of the speculation, the prediction, it's not even the thing that happens on a day. It's what's said and then what's speculated on after that. Um, Anthony, I'm curious, how has your, I love the candor, the honesty there, Amit, as well. Anthony, your 2025, you've always been a straight talker. I'm curious your assessment of 2025. And this is obviously, this is what top agents learned in 2025 and what's next in 2026. We're front loading this with our assessment of 2025. We're going to get into the strategies that you all implemented throughout the year, where you got creative, where you rolled your sleeves up. I'm just curious right now, and again, this is an opportunity for our chat. I'm not going to ask you to sum it up in one word, but give me a couple of adjectives in the chat, how you felt about 2025 or what you tried to impress upon 2025, while Anthony answers that question as well. What's your take on the year, sir?
I don't think it was what any of us expected it to be, but as we got to looking at it, I, for one, wasn't and am not surprised by what it is that we have experienced.
And what would you say you experienced?
Sluggish market, changes that we haven't seen in our market anyway, in going back to 06, 07, 08. And very candidly, I think the social media influencer perception of the markets clouded over for me how good people were really doing. If there's 1.5 million less deals being done this year than the previous year, we're all suffering a little in some way, shape, or form. And that for us, we had to kind of abandon our 2025 business plan and create a new one in the 3 or 4 months in.
That's the only, I mean, I'm glad it's one of those things where we're here now to help everybody define a 2026 plan. But again, the candor is, hey, if 3 months into 2026, it's a different market, or if there's a different mentality, or if the behavior of buyers and sellers is different, it's great to start with a plan so that you can adjust that plan. If you don't have a plan to go with it all, you're just gunslinging. You're just going to be figuring it out as you go. At least you started with a plan. We'll talk about where you started and then where the evolution happened and the iterations happened as the stream goes on. Dean, totally different market for you than these gentlemen in Miami and Tampa. Up in Whistler, what's your assessment? What was your overall 2025?
Well, I wouldn't say it was our worst year ever. We'd have to probably look back to 2008, 2009 for that. But I think everything was really defined by what's the crazy orange man south of the border going to do tomorrow, right? Like I call it the Trump wet blanket up here, because it just smothered all buyer and seller activity in our market. Because the economy's just taken a hit in Canada. So we're a very investment driven market, and it's lifestyle as well. So we work with a lot of very well-heeled people from south of the border as well as Canada. But honestly, 80% of our business really comes from the Lower Mainland down in Vancouver. And 20% is international, with probably about 15 of that being sort of the Seattle area. So it's it's been a tricky year for us. We just got our P&L back from our accountant, and it's we did better than we thought, but we still, it was a rough year. Most of that income we had was actually at the very start of the year. We had a pretty strong late fall and early winter last year, and then it just went silent for the rest of the year. But just recently, the past 2 months, I've done about 6 months of work. So we've kind of made up for it at the tail end, because it looks like maybe there's just a glimmer of hope that Trump's kind of on his last legs down there. We're hoping. I don't want to get too political, but oh, holy cow.
I was thinking before even starting this stream, I was like, I think eventually, like, we're going to have to talk about, like, Amit brought up new construction in the States. So, lumber prices, labor prices,
exactly.
those things are influential.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come up,
Yeah.
and there might be we probably won't do too much either
we'll
MS Now or Fox News style on this chat,
yeah.
but we need to, like, these are real things that we should discuss, the
No, like
impact
we'll
of
get into all of
perception and reality in the markets.
yeah, and we'll get into all of our strategies, of course, but we're certainly I, I'm looking forward. I'm not looking back.
Yeah. And so Damien now, a totally different market as well, and focusing on luxury real estate in Greenville and around the rest of the Carolinas. What overall? Give me a sense of your 2025. What's your take on it? How did it surprise you, or where did you get punched in the jaw, or where did you put your foot on its throat?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I would say it was definitely a wild ride. I think I've consumed more wine per annual calendar year than I have any other years. I wasn't in business in 2008, so that might have trumped it. But Q1 for us, I thought we were on the Titanic. I mean, we didn't have a single sale in the whole quarter. Things were looking very, very bad. Obviously, slashing marketing funds and budgets and everything else just to stay afloat. And then our market, spring came, and we just had that influx of inventory of 40% more inventory year over year. And we were taking listings just all day, every day. I mean, we were at 60 million in listings pretty much from that point on until now, and continue to be pretty strong. A lot of our buyers are cash, so they're not as influenced by the interest rates as the mid to lower tier markets. But still a lot of our cash buyers were on the sidelines just because of uncertainties in the market and tariffs and a whole range of everything else going on. So, we actually managed to, like Dean said, so the end of the year, kind of the last quarter into now, really picked up for us. And we're going to end the year actually with the best year we've ever had. So I saw us really the last 3 years of what we've been doing pay off all of a sudden when all of this inventory hit the market. It was now, hey, you need Damien for the luxury. And so we just got a lion's share of that inventory coming on, which really bolstered our sales.
So that's the seasonality. There's the impact of the tightening of markets. I mean, every time we have an election, every election year, there is always that, like, we're gonna I'm waiting and seeing, and then you typically see the following year that I'm assuming that was part of everyone's expectation for what 2025 was going to be. Is cool. It's finally the year after the election. We're gonna see things normalize. We're gonna have all of that. Was that a factor for you gentlemen in thinking about what you were planning the year, what you thought it was going to be, and that was a big part of the curveball, or were there other factors that really influenced it?
Yeah, I think we were kind of prepped, usually for an election year, November, early, maybe October, things start to slow down ahead of the election. And then my thought was that, okay, great, February, March, the uncertainty of the election is going to be behind us. Things going to move forward. But then I think just with the economic impacts of all of the policy and, tariff and correcting things here, just really wrecked, what should have been a simmering kind of people sitting on the sidelines waiting on things to pan out. Typically that happens the spring after the election, and this year, it's really still happening.
Yeah, right. The ongoing uncertainty that exists. Let's talk about specific conversations that you ended up having. Like we're going to talk about marketing strategy that drove those conversations. But I am curious, as we're talking about some of the bottlenecks and the tension that existed, were there recurring questions? Were there recurring conflicts? What were the more commonly heard objections, or the more commonly heard, like, ooh, I'm waiting, like, was it in engaging sellers? Where were those bottlenecks really happening for you all? Anthony, is there, you always look thoughtful. I'm not sure if I'm misreading.
They're always, those bottlenecks are always on the seller side, right? They're not on the buyer side. People the number of buyers seldomly changes. The things that force people to buy are, or that prompt people to buy are the same. You have a kid, your kid moves out, you get a kid in college, you get a kid move out, you get married, you get divorced, you get a job, you lose a job. All those things kind of happen on a regular basis. In some areas, especially in Tampa, we have seen an influx of some jobs, and in other places, um, companies laying people off. So in those geographies, buyer activity has changed. What the bottleneck for us was sellers and the inordinate number of overpriced properties in relationship to the market today, and that is the day that a buyer is looking at them. Because almost all the algorithms that we use or that buyers use to determine what a house might be worth or a seller looks at are based on 6 months of past sales. And you can't buy a house 6 months ago, you have to buy a house today. So for us, those were the bottlenecks, right? The number of sellers who were wishful beyond what was capable.
Yeah, we experienced the same thing. I mean, that was our main challenge and obstacle. We had so many sellers that were on 2023 prices, and I mean, like Anthony said, even 6 months ago, that those numbers aren't relevant. So we had to have that hard conversation, and a lot of sellers, especially with the more, as you get more higher end, or like, we don't have to move, let's just test the market, let's see how it goes. And then, you're spending marketing money, and they're still calling you once a week on, why is my house selling? Why is my house selling? Why aren't you marketing my house more? So that's, overpricing. That was definitely our thing. And the buyers are not one to pay 2023 prices. They see less buyers in the market, and they think they have a little bit more of an advantage. Inventory's up, there are more options. So it was kind of just a trifecta of things that were making it challenging for the sellers that were unrealistic.
Yeah, in Miami, it's a bit different. A little twist on what you guys have. Sellers obviously are always a little bit behind buyers because buyers are looking every day, multiple times a day. But with our market, prices still went up. We had way more inventory than normal. Prices went up and way less sales. So that doesn't normally make sense. If you have way more inventory and less sales, that prices are going to go up. But the main reason is there's a lot of the best way, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but a lot of bad inventory, junky homes, homes that need a lot of work. So if you have 100 homes, you have 5 homes that were nice, and you have all these buyers, and those buyers want to buy those 5 homes. So the prices will go up a lot, but those other 95 homes, no one wants them. So you'll have homes that can sell right away for over ask, and you can have a bunch of homes that never sell with multiple price reductions. So it was a little bit weird in our market.
And I would agree with Amit. Very similar here. We have seen prices, the median sale price in Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough County rise gently, but homes are staying on the market longer. And I heard something at a Florida Realtor convention back in August that kind of stuck in my head. Somebody said, if you don't get your home sold in the first 10 days, the road is going to be bumpy moving forward. And to Amit's point, the homes that were what buyers were looking for in any price range that were even a little overpriced, but if they met all the criteria and they were clean and they weren't junky, they sold pretty quickly. As inventory grew and grows still to this day, buyers have more selection, and no buyer ever wanted to overpay for a house the same way no seller wanted to give their equity away. So the confluence of both of those things is what we're seeing. Longer days on the market, the really nice homes selling quickly at all price points.
So we're talking a lot about, like, I wanted to frame it around the actual conversations themselves, working with a client. I'm curious, in the lead up to that, did you find yourselves having fewer conversations with prospects, or was the uncertainty of the market actually helping drive more conversations? Were people aware of the fact that, like, I don't know if I want to get into this, or were you find you were having more conversations with prospects and clients and just having fewer deals go through because of it? Or did everything contract? Was your ability to communicate with a large audience, did that also contract? Or is it more about what felt like a pinch in the actual
You
market
know,
of transactions itself?
in our market here, it was just straight up crickets. Like
Hmm.
there was no conversations happening. Like the phone was dead. It was crazy. I couldn't even understand it. I just went and rode my bike for 3 months because it's like, what's the point? Um, but those conversations did start coming back in September and October when normally we've already been like our market here tends to run pretty cyclically with ski season. So
Mm.
people in the middle to late summer really want to get something under contract for the coming ski season to be ready. And that begins in August. And this year it didn't begin until the end of October. Um, but the conversations just magically all came back. So it was odd, but yeah, last we weren't even having conversations from June through to October. It was nuts.
So I can add something. This isn't a buyer or seller. This is an agent thing. And so basically what happens, I don't know about the other markets, Canada and the rest of the US, when the market gets tight, agents have commission breath, especially like the listing agents. And ego, with agents, obviously, always ego is so ridiculous in real estate. You would think like you're saving someone's life daily, multiple times. But with that said, um, people with this new thing about like agents and like the buyer's rep, what you're getting, and all the commission stuff, how it's different, we're seeing like a lot of agents try listing agents be a little bit weak with what they're offering the buyer's agent and taking more on the listing side. So for us, at least, we always do our best to get a certain percentage without getting into the numbers, without getting, all crazy. We feel our service is worth a certain number. And if it's less than that, what we found out, so we always, with our buyer broker agreement, we always put a number we think that's a fair number. And many times that listing agent is offering less. So what I learned is a lot of times it's easier to get the discount from the seller. So like, okay, if there's X for the buyer's agent and X is for the listing agent, a lot of times that listing agent doesn't want it to be X plus a percentage for the buyer's agent. Their ego is in the way and they don't want them to get paid more. So when we would do that in the beginning and we would do the offer and we would say that, the seller is going to give this much because we feel our services are worth that, the listing agent would always get in the way because their ego would get in the way and they would try and blow the deal. They would rather their ego, because they're so soft, would rather lose the deal than for us to get more than them. So what we started doing, which works really well, is we told our buyer's agent, hey, we need to get paid this much. The seller's agent, the seller is only giving you this much. If we get this discount, additional 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand off the price, which a seller 15 grand or whatever is nothing. So they'll take that off. And we tell them, we want you to pay us that. They'll be like, of course, it's the same thing to me. So we started doing that. That was a conversation I had with my team a lot, and it worked really well. So just different ways of negotiating for the situation in a tight market where egos are bruised easily. So that's one of the things.
Dean, you looked like you had a thought there.
Me? No, I
Yeah.
got nothing. That's
Nothing,
butterflies
nothing
up in
going
my
on.
head.
All right.
There's nothing going on.
All right. So it occurs to me. So Amit, you just mentioned you had your conversation with your buyer's agent. I meant to ask you all before, just a very brief overall team size structure. So Amit, you mentioned your buyer's agent there. What's the overall composition of All in Miami?
So we only have 4 agents. It's me and 3 others. I actually did the numbers yesterday because I don't know them. So we did 37 deals, 25 buyers, 12 sellers, 34 rentals. Our average price point is about 1.37. And we get a lot on referrals. We got almost 300,000 in income from referrals. So, and rentals, the price points are pretty high. So we do a decent amount in rentals as well. That's our team.
All right. How about you, Anthony, my Tampa agent?
We no, we're four. Myself, 3 other agents, one of them who's been on maternity leave for a little while. So really for the last, I don't want to say maternity leave, she had a baby and she's enjoying her. We are basically three. This year we're pretty much done for the year. We'll do 47 deals amongst the 3 of us. Pretty much split down the middle between buyers and sellers this year, which it was a little uncommon. But the interesting thing is almost all of those deals came from the people we already knew, liked, and trusted, and referrals. A significantly higher number of referrals than we've had in as a percentage of deals in previous years, and that goes back to when the team was 12, not 4. So one of the things that we changed this year is to spend a lot less time chasing our tail, a lot less time talking to people who are clicking on pretty houses, and more time having conversations with the people who already knew us. And from that, a fair amount of business continued to find its way to us. It's interesting to me how someone calling up and say, "Hey, do you know a good plumber?" turns into a referral a month and a half down the road because you've either reconnected or connected or stayed connected with that person.
Let's dive in there, and I'll get to Dean and to Damian and about your team structures and overall. But while we're on that note, Anthony, I know again, like I said, like you're always a straight talker, and you have such a human quality to your work, obviously in person, but even online. I know that you talked about the shifting of focus from quantity to quality. Let's dive into some of the specifics, the tactics, the strategies that you embraced, whether it's for coaching and leading the rest of your team through a challenging year. And I know you talked about the one per week concept. Will you
Sure.
dive in a little bit on that? So that I think that this is going to be one that if I have my notepad out, I'm probably going to want to write this down. The way that you approached this a mindset shift.
The shift that happened for us, very similar to Damian, the first quarter of the year was crickets. January, February, I mean, if it wasn't for the NFL, spring training, and March Madness, I would have been really bored the first part of the year. Very bored. We were sitting around and having just amongst the 4 of us having a conversation, and we started talking about where we got most of our business, and we have a lot of repeat clients. So from that it grew into how about if we, instead of trying to find out where we're going to get the next deal, if we build the next relationship, and if we build 40 relationships in a year who will buy, sell, or invest with us eventually at some point down the road, right? We would build a strong enough foundation by which we could sustain a lifestyle that we need or we want, right? And so everything and that one a week thing spun from that. So all of our conversations, we scaled our conversations more towards quality versus quantity. Yes, if we did open houses, we followed up with the people who were coming to the open houses. But we spent more of our time building the quality relationships and then staying in touch with that one person a week over the course of forever until such time as they choose to or need to transact. The mindset of the team changed very drastically. If they knew they were doing the right thing and if we knew we were having the right conversations, you plant the seeds, eventually the crop will grow.
It sounds like as a tent pole, a concept, like it's not replacing the idea that you're doing open houses. It's not replacing the idea that you're sending emails and doing and
No.
creating blogs. It's reframing, and I think I've heard several of you, I think, say this over the conversations that we've had over the year. It's like, hey, if you show up on a Zoom and there's 50 people, 100 people on it, imagine a real room like that. And you're like, oh, that's a lot of people. Typically, you're having a one-on-one conversation. Sometimes you go, oh man, I wish that 700 people. I wish this was a room of thousands. The reframing it from the vanity metrics, the ego, to I have an opportunity to speak to a solidly interested small group of people. So it sounds like it's a system, or it's a framework to think of that doesn't seem very limiting, though. You're saying 40 deeper conversations, 40 deeper relationships across the year, one a week. You're still teeing them up with content, ideas, inspiration, events, but it sounds like you're not having to micromanage and say, did you send that follow-up text? Did you send that? Like, does it allow you to deal with your agents like they're adults, and does it improve the overall communication around that, or am I getting a little ahead of myself? Am I a little optimistic?
I'm a seasoned realtor, I guess,
Yep.
with the mentality of a 12-year-old. So when you start talking about adulthood, I'm not going to really hold very many people accountable for the things that they should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
What happened, Steve, very honestly, with us, those meaningful relationships over a year, that was the focus. People
Yeah.
started telling us what they wanted or what they needed, be it a plumber, or if I put a new deck on my house, will it be worth more? Or if I pave my backyard, if I resurface my pool. These questions began to have uh, more relevance to the agents having the conversations. So we had more things to talk about because they came to us with the questions, not the other way around.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
I mean, the first thing that comes to, I mean, like, the term real estate agent has agent in it, but the only other types of agents that I ever think of are like you're an agent for an athlete or for an actor. And generally speaking, athletes and actors have much deeper relationships with their agents than it seems like a consumer does with their real estate agent, or it's a more ongoing one. And so what you just described sounds like you really became their agent in a larger, deeper way, in that more ongoing, like, concierge, but like truly to be someone's agent, to be their advocate, their representative in a longer term way. I know, is that broadly
Yeah,
what it feels like to you?
we're in it for the long run.
Yeah.
87% of our deals over the past 4 years have come from that group of people. Why not spend more time talking to them?
We get distracted by what we don't have. And obviously, Curaytor's a digital marketing company, and we work on generating leads, and we try to help you have deeper conversations with people that you might not have connected with yet. But also, we've known for years, what if we helped you have a better conversation with someone who was already in your database? And you see the proliferation of technologies and other providers that are saying, yeah, we don't like lead gen. We know what the stats are. It's going to be something like 3 to 4%. It's going to be a lot of phone calls. It's going to be not a lot of conversations. What if we deepened your ability to have quality conversation? What if we gave you better reasons to reach out? What if we supported you with an easier way to create a story, to create a blog, to create anything and distribute it in a way that gets people just a little more excited to talk to you and not so turned off by your commission breath, like Amit said, right?
And that's how
So,
moving.
Damian,
That's
I was gonna turn to you next.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. That's how move the needle for us too. Is just thinking of like not this shotgun blast approach of like sending out this beautiful email blast about a new listing, but like Curaytor's help with these templates of just one or two lines or some poignant notes about the market that somebody would be interested in with no image, without the fancy images and things like that, and just focused on trying to create that conversation, one-on-one conversation with that person in my inbox, whether it's a client that I sold a house to a year ago or somebody that, ended up in our database from an open house or somewhere else. So that's been really effective. And then, through the blogs and the other kind of channels of being more focused on creating that conversation, talking one-on-one to a prospect or a client has just kind of boosted us a bit. Even like the email, just shifting your philosophy from, we're not going to send an email, big blast coming soon, here are the details, but hey, forward this to a friend. I know you might not be, I know we may have worked together in the past year or two, and you may be happy in your home, but most of the people in my database know somebody that's looking for a home in whatever area. Forward this to them and have them call me on my cell, if they have questions. That kind of thinking just kind of, I think really helped warm up our database, at least in email.
It's to be ready takes a lot of preparation but to be able to meet them at the moment that they need it requires consistency, and it requires contribution. And that's why you guys are on this call today. Like we're talking about emails specifically right now. I'm looking at someone that I know has been sending a weekly email for over 2 decades in Dean. I'm looking at Anthony. I know, how long is the weekend bucket list, the Tampa Bay bucket list, been going on, Anthony?
Every Friday for 12 years.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar with Dean's Friday morning coffee, Dean, give me the elevator pitch on how like in real life you're talking to a person in a lobby in Whistler, and somehow they don't even know about it already. Let's pretend that somebody in Whistler doesn't know about it already. How do you tell them quickly to get on the list?
It's the most boring thing ever. It's been happening now for 22 years. No, it's funny because, and just this kind of leads into one of my other lead pillars that's really been working for me, is YouTube, right? So a large volume of my actually ready to go leads come from YouTube. And that's just been over the past couple of years where we actually are getting phone calls. People are ready to go, binge watched our content. And that's another boring one. We started our channel in 2008. It's only taken 16 years to, actually get clients. So stick with it, folks. But I was down in Whole Foods in West Vancouver on Sunday having lunch with my wife, and a guy grabbed me by the arm. He's like, I just flew in from Switzerland, and I'm actually from West Van, but I've been living in Switzerland for the past 5 years. I've binge watched all your videos, and I want to buy a unit at the Westin Resort and Spa in Whistler. And my wife's like, I'm gonna go to the car while you talk to him for 25 minutes. But the elevator pitch was, hey, if you want to really find out what's going on in the market here, I send out this Friday newsletter with all the latest listings for the past 7 days, the price reductions and the solds. And then my latest video is embedded in there too, so you can see what's going on with my YouTube channel. And so, we're starting to just add people that way. But that's the elevator pitch for my boring 22-year-long email saga.
Well, so every week you're sending out basic real estate information, frankly.
It's a TLDR, bullets, a little bit about, what's going on in the market up here, or what I did. Maybe I went skiing and had a great day skiing last week, and I'll just have a little personal anecdote about that, and people really enjoy it.
And then now, Amit, I know that you have added a weekly email. Is it weekly or monthly that you're sending these days?
Weekly.
A weekly email
So
as
one of
well.
the things, so one of the things about agents is we do a lot of content, but we don't know how to distribute it properly, right? And also we're not good at communicating with, many of us aren't good at communicating with our past clients, even agents that we've done business with, and just our whole sphere. So called Ella, and Ella, it goes through, it finds out the hyper local stuff and sends it. And because I do a lot of content, I do a podcast, I do YouTube, I do blogs, I do, that's how we get most of our business. Every week, I'm not Dean, so I don't send out that many, but typically it's like 1,100 or so are sent, 11 to 1,200 are sent, and we get 40 to 70% open rates every week. So it's really good. I'm surprised that people want to see my stuff that much, but I'm glad they do.
Yeah, it's so again, like, and Anthony, you were also sending the weekend bucket list every week for 12 years. It's part real estate information, part events calendar, effectively.
It really focuses more on the events calendar. There's new listings and open house links below it. There's one simple graph that talks about the past 7 days of stats and a link to a blog post that very hyper local that we write every week.
And people reply, people engage. It's an excuse for that. How do
You
you,
know,
does it,
again,
it's
the
one of those,
people
like, it's
who
not a
already know,
it's
like
not
us, and trust us engage, right?
right.
When we came to this epiphany right after March Madness before spring training that nothing was happening, I went into our Curaytor system. I looked at all of the weekend bucket lists that we have sent through Curaytor. We use Curaytor, our Curaytor email platform, to do that. And I sorted by the number of people who never opened an email.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty big number. Well, guess what? If you never opened up an email, you're not getting another one. I just stopped.
You
And
culled the list.
right. And
Yeah.
so the list went from huge to kind of tiny. And then we created, with the help of our coach, another simple action plan that said if you opened up an email, that you, if you hadn't in a long time and you opened up an email, then we'll put you back on the weekend bucket list. So again, we made the target smaller, not bigger,
Yeah.
when it came to that one email distribution list.
Right. And what I'm looking at is this is the most recent one. So even your smaller list, your pulled smaller list for you is nearly 3,000 people, and then you've got your team members that are each sending to a couple of hundred people as well, 150, 460, and then you're still getting a near 30% open rate. So almost 800 people are opening it. You're getting almost 100 people clicking on it.
Sure.
Even if that's the small list, I'm pretty happy with that number of people looking at my content. I'm pretty happy with that number of people engaging with what I'm putting out there, right?
It's, again, there are people that already know us. You know, they like the fact that we are consistent about what we do, and we know what we're talking about. I mean, that's something else that, the four of us, we know our markets, we know our numbers, and if I'm going to differentiate myself from the people in my area, I'm going to do it with my experience and with the knowledge of the market. And that's kind of what we've honed in on.
Now, Damian, I know you're also sending a weekly email, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity. You told me something in our prep that we're going cutting edge. You're the Damian Hall GPT,
Yes. Yeah,
the
yeah.
listing experience. Will you please dive in on that for me? I think this might be one that makes some folks on the in the audience, and maybe even some of our fellow panelists go, "Oh, I gotta tinker with that."
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. We started, so I wanted to build out a format that was like Ella, like Christmas deal that
Hey, I
Amit's
know
been
that
doing.
guy.
Yeah, yeah, but I didn't want to pay him, so I just did it myself. I'm kidding. So we did the DHG VIP list, and each letter stands for whatever. And then I went into Manus, which is
I have to brag for just 1 second, because the Ella format is originally from the Chris list,
yeah.
CHRIS. And I have to take a little bit of credit that maybe when Chris was developing the concept of wanting to send a really good weekly email, I was like, what if it was the letters of your name?
Boom.
And thus it was born. It's collaboration. He's given me more than enough. I'm going to publicly, for a few people, at least say in this case, I had some positive influence on him too.
Well, thank you. The ripple effect has kind of
That's
come
right.
on down to all of us. So what we've done is taken that, and I was using Manus before ChatGPT came out with the next agent generation, and now we've kind of switched over to ChatGPT for this. But we have it trained so it knows we uploaded the last like 10 or whatever DHG VIP newsletters we sent out. I gave it instructions on the format. The H is for hyperlocal news. I want something focused on development in and around town. And D is Damian's desk. So I want concise market update about, geared towards luxury. So I just gave it all the instructions for each one of the letters of what I wanted for content. And then I told
Yeah.
it to run every Tuesday. So every Tuesday I get a notification and it's given me all of this, built out each segment of this email. So I can literally just go like kind of pull through that. And actually Jimmy and Chris were on the Growth Mode podcast a few weeks ago, and they were talking about ways to fine tune that even further. So if
Hmm.
you want more insight into that, check out that growth podcast because Chris was actually saying like he has it give 2 or 3 options for each subject in the email, and
Yeah.
then he can kind of curate the list based on that. So he's essentially a curator, and AI is doing the research. He's picking out what resonates most with his audience. So that takes what used to take me a day to figure out, all of this content, what's right, and then write it. It's already being queued up for me every Tuesday. So on Wednesday, I can grab that. I can tweak it a little bit, tell it, no, don't like that story, find another one. And it'll, keep deep diving into that. And so that's been a game changer for us. And then we were already shooting content, at our listings, either property videos or like we call it DHG tour videos, where we're doing a hosted, I'm walking through the house talking about it. And those were going out to social and those were going out to YouTube. But, our database wasn't necessarily seeing that. So I found a way to work in, the V in VIP stands for video of the week. And that's where we can just plug in whatever property video or DHG tour that we already have. So that gives you another way to, like, Amit said, to kind of push your content out there even further. So those
That
are two kind
the
of
the the,
cool things.
the lesson that I want to make sure everyone's picking up is that it's not just like that all four of you have an email strategy, and the email strategy is not just an email. The email is showcasing the videos, the blog content, in some case the podcasts, all these different things. It's finding the right delivery vehicle to maximize all of the time that you've been spending on the other things. Damien, I don't know that I've ever seen someone's emails consistently have a higher percentage than open percentage. I'm seeing several of the emails that you sent over the last couple of months with double digit, not just open rate, which is normal, but double digit click through. And even some of them are hovering around the same, if not even higher than the open rate itself. That's
Yeah.
bananas. Just so the click through rate is not the same
So
number. It's not for all the people who got sent to. It's of the people who then opened it, how many of them clicked on it, so that 50% of the folks in your VIP list, once the 42% of them that opened it, so we're looking at almost 1,700 people opening, we then saw nearly 2,000 total clicks inside of this email. That's
yeah.
remarkable.
So a couple of things that we've kind of attribute that to. So we did the same thing that Anthony did. So Joe recommended that we cut out, people who haven't opened the email in, a year or whatever it was. And I'm hyperventilating because I don't want to lose 5,000 contacts, but I mean, it made sense. They weren't opening it anyway, so we didn't lose anything. And now our open rates and, love with Gmail and everything else has gone up. And then we also like, the level of photography and videography that we do is, first class pushing the envelope. So as soon as they open it, it's going to grab your attention. It's going to really like pull you in. showcase a unique property that you're like, oh, I've got to go check this out. And then, of course, we're using chat to test all the subject lines to see what's going to resonate most and most likely to get, more opens.
I I think my favorite anecdote of the year was from you, Damian. You were talking about using chat, but you were using it specifically in an unconventional place, like Archimedes, who is, of course, as we all know, the Greek mathematician who figured out how to define the volume of something, the mass and the volume of something. Eureka in the bathtub.
Yes, yes. So that was a great, just discovering like how AI can get me from idea and iteration to execution so quickly. I was, in the bubble bath, scrolling through emails, trying to, catch up on e-newsletters. And I had this thought somewhere, some one of the e-newsletters just had me thinking about something. And I was like, you know what? A lot of our buyers right now are relocating from Chicago. And I haven't seen anything, out online that's like, if I were moving from Chicago, why would I pick Greenville, South Carolina? So I'm like, okay, well, what if I posted a blog about that and got some Google SEO love from people searching, why should I move from Chicago to Greenville? Or why are so many people moving there? And so I just clicked on my chat GPT app. I said, write me a blog for why are people moving from Chicago to Greenville. Boom, this beautiful blog with a few tweaks came up. Got out of the bath, fired up my laptop, copied, pasted, tweaked, added a video I already have talking about why Greenville is so awesome. And I mean, from idea to what you're seeing now, I mean, like 30 minutes tops. And that was because I had to dry off. So,
So, yep, sometimes the ideas are fresh out the oven. This time
that's
it was
it.
fresh out the bathtub. I
The only
love it.
time
Yeah, this was,
I can think.
but yeah, again, but so it speaks again to this idea of the broadest concept is probably not what's going to resonate. It's not going to land. It's not going to like. I just love that you are all finding ways to speak more and more clearly to your audiences and finding clever ways, finding thoughtful ways to engage with people. Again, like no one here is saying that they're not using AI. In fact, you're all using it in various ways, but you're using it in the pursuit of more human connection, not less. It
Yeah.
is, it's
Steve, I wanted to add something, and sorry to interrupt
please.
you guys. One of the common things about all of us is we don't just make it real estate. We make it stuff about, we make it things that people would be interested in, whether they're buying or selling a home. A huge, huge mistake that most agents make is they just make it real estate. So if you're a person on the sidelines and you're thinking about buying a house for 2 years and you're looking at my stuff for 2 years, once you buy the house, you don't care about my stuff anymore. But if you have a newsletter that shares stuff about the community, cool videos, just all this other stuff, you're going to want to keep reading my stuff. And that's why all these newsletters that we're sending, whether it's in Canada, Tampa, or, Greenville, people are opening them up and they're opening up at a high number because they care about the hyper-local activity or just cool stuff that they want to find on YouTube. So I think that's a major thing. Instead of telling the world how great we are that we sold this or did that or we just listed this, no one cares, but they care about hyper-local activity.
I think you
I got
hit the nail on the head there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I got to take a second to say that's one of those things that we've been inspired seeing the work that y'all are doing. Our team, our customer success team is a phenomenal group here at Curaytor that they host a weekly training each and every Monday called Local Lens. That was actually I've asked you all, like, what did you change in 2025? What were you surprised by in 2025? One of the things that is a curator's always evolving, iterating, responding to things while building things proactively, but reacting to the situations of the market and technology. I'm so proud of our CS team Joey approached us a couple months ago and he said like, "Hey, we do office hours on Mondays, and it's typically like it's office hours. So we're coming up with topics, but it's also there to be a support opportunity and to respond to what our clients are looking for, whether they want to talk about growth strategies, whether they need a little bit of tech support. It was a catch-all, and it was a really great program. But they said we see an opportunity to leverage like if we've got 30 minutes on their calendars every week. AI is making it easier and easier to create hyperlocal content. We can walk our clients through this and help them develop hyperlocal content. And like you just said, Amit, it's not always real estate. So I'm looking at the last like 8 weeks of what we put together for Local Lens. Best places to see Christmas lights and some local holiday events. Reasons to be grateful and a local Thanksgiving guide. Your vendor list for 2026. Local Lens supporting local charities, writing a past client newsletter, iOS 26 tips and tricks when trick or treat local listicles. So creating content for like with an agent for a community that's not just so real estate specific. So that's one of the things that I love what we've been able to put together at Curaytor this past year. If you're looking to create hyper local content, like all of these guys on this call have been, and you want to coach, you want to guide, you want weekly inspiration, but not just the inspiration, but like literally walking through it. And in under 30 minutes, our team is putting together all of the prompts, have the blog templates ready. They'll show you how to get it out on social as well. And every week on Mondays, in under 30 minutes, we've got clients who are launching full-blown hyper-local campaigns that are setting them up to have quality conversations the rest of the week as well. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that or have a chat with one of our teammates that puts together those chats, I just dropped a link in the chat for you there. That's our It's Almost Been an Hour mini Curaytor house ad. Now we're right back to providing more value for you all as well. So continuing the conversation, I love what I've like you just said, like non-real estate content. Let's dive even deeper. You've done non-real estate, but you've also found a clever way to engage people with real estate content and non-real estate content in a way that might let them consume it on a commute, not just while they're sitting around on their laptop. Tell them a little bit about your audio strategy of the year.
Yeah, so I do a lot of podcasts, and obviously AI can help us a lot. So just like everyone in the US and probably Canada, we're consumers, right? We consume a lot of content. And what I learned a long time ago is when we're doing deals, some of the toughest deals become the easiest deals because we have a lot in common with that person. And some of the deals that should be the easiest are the hardest because we have nothing in common with them. So why not reverse engineer it, create content that you like, so the people that you attract will be interested in the same stuff that you do. So whenever I see an article on something that interests me, so I like crypto, I like NFTs, I like sports, I like food, I like a few different things, mental health and all that. And whenever I see an article on it, I put it in Notebook LM and I make it a podcast. And so just imagine a podcast that someone is creating and you're paying for an ad for to be in there. So like they said, Dean Linnell and Whistler or Damian in Greenville or whatever. So I'll have Notebook LM, which is Google basically. I'll put the article there. I'll create a prompt. And if you don't know what prompt to create, ask ChatGPT. Say, I'm doing this. I want to create a audio podcast for Notebook LM. I have this article. What should I do? And I want to put a small ad in there. So I will tell Notebook LM, I'll say, mention something, but make it like secondary. Don't make it in the way of the content about the All In Miami team. We do this and that, and just a small blurb about that. And I'll whatever the topic is, whether it's the Miami Dolphins, whether it's Coldplay, whether it's Gary Vee or whatever it is, I put that little blurb about us. And in a year and probably a month or so, I've done 500 podcasts, and we get business from it. You know, it's we get business in real estate, you get business from a lot of different things. Like the LinkedIn people probably aren't going to be your TikTok followers, you know? So you're going to have different, I guess, buckets of clients coming in. And podcasts are so big, and it takes me about 5 minutes to do each one. So that's why I've done 500 plus. But it definitely helps because a lot of people don't care about the audio, I mean the video as much because they're driving or they're doing other stuff or they just want to listen, you know.
I'm taking notes on that. Amit, what do you do to drive discovery of the podcast? You just let people search and find you in like Spotify or the podcast, or do you put any ad spend behind that?
Yeah, so I don't do any ad spend. All our stuff, we don't do ad spend except YouTube. And YouTube is just to create a false sense of views and whatever, just so you could get people to like your content. But so I'll give you an example, Damien. So Chris's Ella blog that he does for us, the newsletter, I put that in Notebook LM. So take your, you have
Yeah.
too many initials for me to remember your
Yeah.
your
That's a lot.
newsletter, but
DHT. Yeah.
I would take that, put the link into Notebook LM, write a little blurb about, the Damian Hall
Wow.
group, however you want to do it. And
Yeah.
then I on Curaytor's site, which is cool, you can embed it. So every day it updates it whenever I do a new one. So
Wow.
every day someone can go to my website and it'll take them to Spotify or whatever. And that's how I do it.
That's amazing. Thanks.
Yeah. It's fun. I was looking a couple of days ago, maybe last week. I was like, on your homepage was something about Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of
Right,
Bel-Air.
right,
And I was
right.
like,
I like the Fresh Prince.
I love the Fresh Prince. I love it. I mean, everybody needs an Uncle Phil in their life. Uh, Rest in peace to James Avery, the phenomenal actor who brought him to life. So I love that strategy. And even just to touch on that, I know we chatted about it once earlier this year on a live stream, but just in case, Amit just dropped a little nugget as well that his YouTube secret is in an oversaturated, a potentially oversaturated market of like high quality real estate video in Miami, very sexy, very appealing. How do you make sure that your videos stand out besides the high definition quality? Something that Amit has started doing. We'll break down just a little bit of that strategy that you've implemented to get those views up.
Yeah, so pretend you're a consumer and you're looking up a video, whatever it's on. If you're so well, I'll go with you, Damien, again. Say you're someone in Chicago, you're looking up Greenville, and you go on YouTube, you put in a bunch of stuff, and you're probably going to look at something with views, right? Because that's
Yeah.
how we are. And so what I do is I go on ChatGPT and I look at where can I get the cheapest views for this video or whatever. And so I'll put 100, $200 ad spend, and then I'll get a ton of views on it. Like I did a video last night. It was on, so that Miami gems. You see 71,000 views
Wow.
17 hours ago. It's ridiculous, right? I mean, I know I'm not that good. I'm actually that bad, but it's a unlock. So
Yeah.
I put in $200. I have a ton of views. So in the future, this is evergreen content. They're gonna see this, they're gonna see Edgewater, and they're gonna be like, damn, this has a lot of views. And then they're gonna keep looking. This is just starts off the views, and then people will start. Then you do an ad spend on the people that you really want to do it on. You don't want to do an ad
Yeah.
spend to people in Chicago with no views on your video. But if you
Right.
do an ad spend to people in Chicago on something on Greenville and it has 71,000 views that's been there less than a week, you probably have a higher chance of them watching it.
It's like
That's
escape
great.
velocity, right? It's a little bit of a rocket ship mentality. You're trying to like there are different things that a rocket needs to do to get away from Earth's orbit, and then it needs other things to actually land on the moon and get off of the moon, right?
Totally.
So so you're helping that initial phase to like, all right, I want to help this thing take off because you understand how important it is to reach escape velocity so that it is then a successful mission once it's out there in the universe.
It's almost like someone starting a new YouTube channel or Facebook group or whatever, you don't like invite everyone in the beginning. You have to have a bunch of content first. So if they happen to like your stuff, they're gonna go like, oh, what else do they have? What else do they have? And so that you need for it to have views before you do anything.
I'm furiously taking notes.
I think we take notes for all of us, you know.
Yeah.
I learn a lot from Anthony, Dean, and just Damian as well. So it's cool.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I just want to keep the conversation flowing. What worked for you this year, Dean? What was, I know obviously you said there's a lot of cycling in the middle of the year, but
No,
I know
you
you've
know, it's
invested in AI optimization. I know you've
yep.
invested always in video. You've got an amazing system to churn out high quality video that fuels your blog, that fuels your emails. You do so many things as well that really allow to have like a strong foundation for marketing and to generate conversations.
Yeah, for me, I think it was more a year of subtraction than addition.
Mm,
We decided to go a little further in on things that we know work, and a little less attention on things that don't. For us, honestly, social media doesn't work here. Instagram, we've never been on TikTok, Facebook. It doesn't generate any tangible business for us. And listen, we've tried all the lead magnets, all the Instagram profile optimization. We've taken courses on it all. We've gone all in, and we've gotten like one client that didn't buy from it. So, um, listening to a podcast a couple months ago with Sharon Shivatsa, where he, basically said the same thing. He's like, pick the one thing you love doing and just go all in on it. And so for that, YouTube, I mean, we've always had a strong channel since '08. And so we took a few more courses with some coaches on YouTube optimization. And so we started really building a custom GPT that can build our scripts for us. And then building a document in ChatGPT that basically is a brain dump of my entire business and everything that I know in real estate in this market, so that our custom GPT can build scripts for us. And then that's what we've kind of gone all in on, and we only use Instagram and Facebook so that it can pad up our seller reports with Curaytor, because we want to be able to show that we are doing social media. So we're doing our carousels, and we're doing reels and things. We do have a video editor in the Philippines full time that does all of our video editing. So he can build um, you know shorts and reels from all of our content, and we just have him working on that all day long. And so we are putting lots of social media content out, but I don't even look at it, to be honest. He posts and I don't even review. So that's my hot take on social media, is subtracting things from our business this year. And if you want to go a little deeper on what's kind of working for us, is I identified about 6 or 8 months ago that we really wanted to be either number one, or at least in the top three when someone searches anything about who's the best realtor in Whistler for selling our ski and ski out condo, or anything anyone would ever type in about trying to find a realtor in Whistler into chat or any of the LLMs. We wanted to be right in the conversation mix. So that's what I call the sort of the rebirth of blogging this year, or even in the past 2 years, because content really has become more and more important. People probably weren't blogging as much as they used to be, and now, we've gone crazy with it. But the most
The secret is
important thing,
basically if I see a video on your YouTube channel, if I go to your website, I'm likely to find a blog post with a
yeah,
similar topic that's got that video embedded as well, right?
yeah,
You're creating the content video first. Is that right?
yeah. We call it the trifecta. So we start with a video that then becomes a blog post, that then goes onto Google Business Profile, and elsewhere. So it's the Google trifecta, if I
Mm-hmm.
may. Now, the next thing that we've done is we wanted to be uh, it's called GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. We'll call it SEO if you want, but it's now called, I guess, GEO. And
That one's it's AEO or
yeah,
GEO. It
yeah.
starts to sound a little like old McDonald. That's at a certain point. It's the industry has yet to decide what it
Yeah.
really like. We'll see what we end up calling it forever, but
I think it's
GEO,
cool. I think
AEO.
they've landed on GEO at this point. But so we hired a company called Fly Dragon. And you guys know Tim Harvey, who used to be with Curaytor. He's gone off on his
Yeah,
own. And
I know every single person
you
who
know
works
those
there.
guys,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And you might know a Mackin that's over there too.
Yeah.
But it's they've been a really big help. So we've actually gotten come list me calls from ChatGPT this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's working for us.
And Damien, I know that you've got some similar experience with folks calling you up from the AI engine.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Like, they're excited to tell me like, you want to know where we found you? I'm like, I'm dying to know where you found me. Like AI, I asked chat, right?
That's I get this exactly the same conversation. It's like, you won't believe it. We found you on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Like, I would believe it, and I'm really glad
I,
that happened.
yep, yeah, we've put a lot of time and energy into making that happen, of course. And I think, I was reflecting back, I mean, through the probably 100 million in listings that we had this year and all the listing appointments I was in, it was, four things. It was, we either found you on AI or, somehow landed on the website from other efforts that got them there. The website, all the comments that I got all the time was that you literally have the best website. Thank you so much. We're so grateful that you put all that information on there. The last couple of listing appointments, we've actually, the seller's like getting giddy because he's really engineer, brain oriented. And he's like, he was a researcher as, for his career. And I read every one of your case studies. I went through the website in and out. He said, it really is beautiful. And I just thank you for having all of that information on there. And every time I go to these listing appointments, it's like I'm not even competing. They're like, "Will you take our listing? Like, you're the one, you're our guy." And it's because they've done all their homework. I don't have to even. I never go through a listing presentation. I go there, build rapport, talk about their goals, and then I leave a marketing and listing packet there for them to go over afterwards. And we rarely ever lose a listing. The website's been a huge part of that. But so AI, website, and then I think just planting seeds on Facebook for the last or not, just social media in general for the last 2 to 3 years. It was either, I think Anthony or Dean's, I think Anthony was talking about people have to know, like, and trust you in order to do business with you. And we use social to kind of create that authenticity to, show our life behind the scenes. We're crafting beautiful listing videos. We've got these narrated, property tours, these beautiful listings. But then I'm also posting like where I'm having dinner or, me out walking the dog. So we're able to kind of build on that. So I think, we've had some momentum there from years of just pushing out stuff on social. And then what was the fourth one that I was seeing? Yeah, and then social media altogether. I mean, our Instagram, Facebook, those two have been big pillars for us to try to attract people into our ecosystem. And then once they're kind of in our ecosystem, which I say is either our email list, our social media, or our website, then they're going to do business with us. So my focus is on how do I get more people into our ecosystem, because we know that once they're there, they're going to be like, you're our guy. We want you.
Yeah, you've just loaded up your site with so much value, so many places for especially sellers to see what the experience
Ooh.
would be like. That I think like the quality of conversations that you've been having are a testament to the quality of the work that you have done for your clients, but you've done such a great job of marketing your marketing and closing the loop and showcasing in these in your success stories, in your case studies of how you've sold these properties. It's really beautifully done. It's
Thank you.
you've got one of my favorite Curaytor websites.
Oh, that's an honor. Let me tell
Yeah.
you one thing I thought about the other day and started doing. So if you go back to the homepage
Yeah.
and just kind of go down to our featured listings. So we had sold properties, a few of those sprinkled in as they sell. I'm just leaving them there to showcase, the sale. Like go down one more, two down one, that one right, the sold 8 Faircliff.
Oh yeah.
So it was, our showcase feature property. So I just put the sold tag on it once it's sold and leave it out there so they could see our marketing. Now I asked chat to go create a frequently asked questions for why people should sell or buy into the Cliffs at Glassy, this neighborhood. And then I just created another section on there and I built all these facts in. So when AI crawls, somebody searching about, differences in Cliffs communities, who's the Cliffs realtor, da 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 da. We've now just added this plug onto that property page that we already had that's already showcasing our marketing. And now we're getting some geo love. So now I'm
That's
going to do
really
that
smart.
for every one of our soul
That's
listings.
that's a strategy 100%. If your best case study is not just that property, it's that neighborhood, include more information, beef up that case study with more information that will help get sourced in search and AI engines. I'm seeing smart SEO in linking out to other folks' websites, linking to other resources in your site, but having this additional step on this case study,
And
very smart for that SEO and GEO as well.
it took chat 30 seconds to come up with it. I copied and pasted, went and found the links, and we're off to the races.
That's gorgeous. I love it. And then, Anthony, I want to talk about your Unhappy Sellers Club. I love your content strategy. We started talking about the level setting and pivoting. I don't think that when you started 2025, were you thinking that you were going to be creating a series called the Unhappy Sellers Club?
Not until I talked to a lot of them. No.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So I'm gonna pull it up here on my screen, but while I'm finding it, will you do me a favor and talk a little bit about the way that those conversations flowed into what's been a really well received campaign that you created?
it's more a talk track, Steve.
Mhm.
The four things that I've always chosen never to argue with are math, the Bible, an idiot, and my wife. Um, if someone says 2 + 2 is 5, I'm not going to argue with him because I know he's wrong. If I argue with the Bible, I'm going to go to hell. If I argue with an idiot, I am one. And if I argue with my wife, I'm going to be wrong, even if I'm right. So why even start? The math, the numbers is what really drove this. And when we've been tracking numbers forever. And when we started looking at the number of new listings versus sold listings versus pending listings, right? A happy seller puts his sign in the yard, has a great agent, and sells their house in 0 to 30 days and gets close to or above their asking price. An
Mhm.
unhappy seller, and the conversations that were difficult to have for us were people who had to drop their price, people who had their house come back on the market, um, people who had to expire, whose listings either expired, canceled, or were temporarily taken off the market. And when I started one additional column in the data that we have been tracking, the unhappy sellers, those sellers that had to drop their price, those sellers that had their homes went under contract this week and came back on the market next week, and those other categories, that column far exceeded the happy sellers club, the people who sold them, got them pending, and got them under I mean, it just, so the math was pretty simple and the story was pretty easy to tell. And when your brother said this a long time ago. The best tool that we have at our disposal here in Florida is the multiple listing service. Learn how to
Mhm.
get the data out of it. Learn how to extract the data by whatever geography or category you need, and then present those numbers to people. So we just started doing that, and I can I can speak for Tampa. The Unhappy Sellers Club continues to grow. We all know there are agents out there who will buy listings. They will tell you that your house is worth $12 when it's really worth $7.50. And 60 days from now, they're going to come and tell you that the market changed and you need to mark it down to $7.50. I would much rather tell you that up front.
Man, it it always strikes me how simple it sounds when you say it. It's yeah, it's you find the data, you communicate it clearly, but you have a real knack for that storytelling as well, the branding as well. But it always comes across just so crystal clear.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It doesn't come across crystal clear for all sellers, to be honest.
Sure.
Some of
When
them, some of
emotions and
them will.
finances are involved.
Well, they know what their house is worth, and they know what they want to get, or they know what they need to get, or they're not willing to admit that they put a lot more money into their house at a time when they shouldn't have done it. So trying to recoup that and move to the next place becomes that much more challenging. And you know, again, the numbers don't lie. Um, we all know that. We've been tracking it, and we know our geographies pretty well. The interesting thing to me when I started that additional column, that unhappy sellers club on my 12-year spreadsheet, is in almost every geography over the past 18 to 24 months, there are more unhappy sellers than happy sellers on a week by week basis.
How are we gonna respond to this call 2025, the whole year? What are we? So I can't believe we're already at 12:22 on the West Coast, 3:22 on the East Coast. We're in our last 10 minutes already. We promised, what are we going to do in 2026? I hope that we've been saying, I'm writing that down. I'm taking that note. I think a lot of the stuff that we've been sharing are the things. It's the stuff that worked in 2025. Is there anything that we haven't already said on this call that you know that you're in your business planning, or you're going to be implementing in 2026, or that you're implementing here at the end of 2025 with the thought that it's going to set you up to start the year strong?
Well, on my end, Steve, the thing that I've been really kind of trying to analyze over the past month and a half is where my personal bottlenecks are in our business,
Mm-hmm.
and what's stopping me from doing more deals. And it's me, actually, in a lot of cases, because what we've done this past 3 or 4 months, I've gotten rid of a couple of buyer's agents that we had, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking more of the business back myself. So
Wow.
uh, I used to always say that I hated working with buyers, and I've had a few good ones lately, and it's actually kind of fun. So I'm taking more of that business back myself, but with the lead volume we have coming in for pay-per-click and everywhere else, I just don't follow up with these people because, as Anthony always says, they're just people that are clicking on pretty pictures of houses. We've said that for years, but there's some gems in there. So we are dialing back our virtual assistants in the Philippines. We only have one now, and we're bringing back someone in-house to work with me at my elbow to work with these leads that are coming in, kind of like an in-house ISA, but more of an executive assistant,
Yeah.
and focusing
An
more on
extension of
text.
yourself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, focusing more on text, which surprisingly, we actually don't text people very much, and we need to do that more. Wow, it's 2026 is coming up, and Dean doesn't text. Just kidding. I actually text quite a bit, but not to leads. So we're going to be working on that, and I think it's going to really move the needle for us.
And
Again, we're talking about hyper local and paring things down. That's a perfect example of that.
yeah,
Damien?
our plan, I really want to beef up our YouTube presence, be more intentional with that. Using strategies that are, people are searching, and it makes sense. My cousin was in my car and we were showing her property when they were moving from Louisville. And she said, if I wasn't related to you, I would have called, you know, Tim or Julie, and that's who we would have worked with. I was like, well, that's interesting. And I already knew the answer, but I said, why is that? And because we binge watched every one of their YouTube videos about Greenville and like what, what's there. And it makes sense. Like we're actually headed down to Miami. We'll have to hit up Amit um, before Christmas. And when we're looking at restaurants, we're looking at hotels. Like we're not going to the hotel's website. We're trying to like YouTube what is the Satai Hotel, tour Satai Hotel, because I'd rather see a vlogger go through it and show me what it's actually like and what the restaurant's like, what the beach club's like, than to actually like click through the 4 pictures that the Zatai has on their website. I mean, same for trying to plan like dinner at a hot spot. It's like we're gonna go YouTube somebody actually at that restaurant, what the experience is like. So thinking about what somebody's going to be searching for when they're moving to Greenville, like area comparisons, neighborhood comparisons, price range. What can you get for 500 downtown? What can you get for 500 in the suburbs? That's one. And then also doubling down on, I think we missed a lot of opportunities this year with not leveraging our listings enough with the volume that we had. So we're going to add slide dial and, do voicemail drops around the neighborhood for different opportunities for, when the listing hits the market, when it goes under contract and when it sells. So that, that farm's getting our calls as well. And then one other thought too, something that worked really well for us in 25 that I'm going to keep focusing on for 26, just look for opportunities. Like there are opportunities everywhere. We had a client in a neighborhood that was, a very desirable neighborhood. Average sale price is about 2 million. And we took excellent care of her, again, like concierge level service, like. So she had an amazing experience, was so grateful. And she said, I wish there was something I could do to repay you. And I said, well, there might be. I said, if you could happen to leave your membership directory in the junk drawer when you move out aisle to make sure it gets disposed of. So, I mean, we literally like just uploaded those emails and, with clear opt-out messaging too, and the first emails and unsubscribe. But, and again, we're sending relevant, hyperlocal neighborhood specific, like we just sold your neighbor's house for 2.4 million, record sale for the year. Here's how we did it, bop, 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 out of the Curaytor email templates. And we've kept targeting that neighborhood list. We've probably done 15 million in sales off of that since the spring, from just that. So just thinking for opportunities and how you can grow your database or opportunities to get one-on-one with people in the area. I think there's ways you could really compound that if you're smart.
All right, we're in the last 2 minutes. Amit, Anthony, any final words of wisdom from you guys?
Yeah, so I'll add to what Damian said. We did that this year. We did 40 neighborhood videos, each 20 to 35 minutes, and the restaurants, just everything about it, the schools, the MLS, going through the MLS, what you can get for the different prices, average and all that. And we'll continue doing that. We did 40 of them for all these hyper local neighborhoods. And from doing that, and then obviously cheating a little bit by making the views a little bit higher. So then when we push them out, people think, a lot of people like it. And we don't care about how many people love our stuff, but we care about the people that are super fans. So someone that really wants to move there is going to watch a 35-minute video. My friends are going to watch 3 seconds and tell me it sucks. And then we're going to get the person on a Friday night staying at home and being like the Dean Linnell fan and spending the time just going through all their videos. And that's what we're trying to do. And we're just going to continue doing that.
Anthony, how are you starting this year? Hopefully the business plan doesn't need a complete remodel in 3 months, but what are you planning on right now?
We're going to focus on profitability, to be honest.
Yeah.
And really focus on running a smarter business. And for me, I do what I have to do to maintain I'm a producing agent and a small team leader. I have to focus not so much on what I do because I do it just very naturally with my small clients, but with my team, I need to help them time block the things that are the most important to them so they could reach that goal of 40. And I think the number one thing for them is to time block the personal items first. Take care of your life, take care of your kids, take care of your family, and then be super focused and on the lead gen, the follow-up, the appointments, the business development, the time that you're going to be negotiating deals. But so for me, that's where we're focusing. A smaller, not larger audience, and giving more time to the things that we know are fruitful, so we can be more profitable and enjoy life a little more.
I like
Can't
that.
argue with a single cent of that, my friend. Aligning the philosophy with the actions, and again, and all four of you bring such a people first mindset. I want to also just say I wish that Mindy Jones, our other curator ambassador, could have been with us today, but it's a pretty good reason that she's not. It's because she's in New York right now with our old friend Phil M. Jones doing some exactly what to say workshops as well. Another just phenomenal example of an agent who makes an impact in their community, an agent who leads an incredibly strong team by example and empowers the agents around them. I'm just so grateful for all of our curator clients, but for all of our curator ambassadors, not just for the partnership that we have with you, but just knowing what you do in your communities, knowing what you do to make the teams around you better and stronger, more invested. It's really empowering to see. So I just want to say thank you to each of you for being here today, for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. Thanks everybody in the chat. Please, in the chat, let our panelists know how much you appreciate them. If you want, drop the thing, the key takeaway that you have picked up that you're going to implement in your business this year, because I want to see the way that this influence spreads, the way that this impact is really made for each and every one of your businesses. At Curaytor, obviously, we are tremendously invested in trying to help agents make marketing a little bit simpler, connect them with their next customer. And often, yes, that customer's already inside of your database. So we do provide lead generation services. We provide content marketing services. We provide website services. Frankly, at this point, I don't know what services we don't provide. But I hope that you've all seen some really great examples of the work that our clients do within our platform and with other incredible vendors and service providers around the real estate marketing industry as well. There is certainly no shortage of options, and we are grateful for the folks that call us their marketing partner. We've got some really exciting things coming in the pipeline. Some of the listing promotion tools that we were showcasing, those seller reports that each of these guys uses so well to display all of their stats. By the end of the year, we're looking to roll out not just posting to Facebook and Instagram like we have been for a little while. Now you're gonna not just the posts, but also stories and reels. And we're also adding the ability to publish directly to YouTube, to your YouTube channel as well. We are connecting more and more platforms to help agents like you market your listings everywhere you post, trying to keep things simpler, trying to reduce the amount of time that it takes you to create thorough listing marketing, while also providing AI content coaching strategies, beautiful website design, email strategies as well. So if you are looking for help with your marketing to deliver quality marketing like these folks on this call have, please, I dropped the link earlier. You can talk with a marketing expert from our team. We would love to chat with you about how your 2025 went and help you make a plan for a successful 2026. Amit, Anthony, Damian, Dean, thank you all so much for your time today. I genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. It's always great to get to mix it up with you, and even more when all the wheels start turning together and everything starts percolating together. This was a really great chat. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon, everybody. Have a good
Appreciate you
one.
guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Happy
Thanks, you
holidays.
guys.
Thank you.